I used to think the worst thing that could happen on a road trip was getting pulled over. I was wrong. The worst thing is finding out the cop who stopped you wasn't writing a ticket. He was writing your obituary. It was supposed to be the perfect weekend. 5 of us packed into Tyler's old SUV with coolers full of drinks, junk food piled everywhere, and a playlist that never seemed to end. We were headed to a cabin in the mountains for 3 days of partying before everyone went back to work. The music was deafening. Tyler was pounding on the steering wheel like he was in a rock band. Marcus was filming everything on his phone. Emily and Sarah were singing so badly it made the rest of us laugh until our stomachs hurt. "Best weekend ever," Marcus shouted. Tyler grinned. "I told you this trip would be legendary." Sarah threw a French fry at him. "Eyes on the road, idiot. I've got this. You literally missed our exit 20 minutes ago. That's called taking the scenic route." Everyone laughed. We stopped for gas, bought energy drinks, and got back on the highway just before sunset. The farther we drove, the fewer cars we saw. Soon it felt like we were the only people left on Earth. Marcus looked at his phone. No signal. Emily checked hers. Mine either. Tyler shrugged. Who needs phones? The GPS suddenly froze. The screen flickered. Then went completely black. Weird. The radio crackled with static. For just a second. I thought I heard someone whisper. Slow down. Then the music came roaring back. You guys hear that? I asked. Hear what? Marcus replied. The voice. Sarah laughed. Lay off the energy drinks. I tried to laugh too. Instead, I looked in the side mirror. Way behind us. Red and blue lights appeared. Tyler groaned. Oh, come on. He pulled onto the shoulder. A police cruiser stopped behind us. It looked ancient. The paint was faded. The chrome was rusted. The light bar looked like it belonged in a museum. The driver's door slowly opened. The officer stepped out. He wore a police uniform unlike any I'd ever seen. His badge was dull and tarnished. His hat looked decades old. Everything about him felt out of time. He walked to Tyler's window. His face showed no emotion. License. Tyler handed it over. Registration. He handed that over too. Were we speeding? Tyler asked. The officer never answered. Instead, he slowly looked at every one of us. Not like a police officer checking passengers. More like a judge deciding sentences. His eyes finally returned to Tyler. You've committed numerous violations. Tyler laughed nervously. Like what? Reckless operation. We weren't driving recklessly. Failure to observe. What does that even mean? Disregarding warnings. What warnings? The officer stared at him. You honestly don't remember? Tyler looked confused. No. The officer sighed. I was hoping you would. He stepped back. Everyone out. Nobody moved. I said. Out. Something about his voice made every muscle in my body obey. We climbed out. The officer opened a weathered notebook. Every page was yellow with age. Thousands of names were written inside. He flipped through them until he stopped. There you are. He looked at Tyler. You've been difficult to find. Marcus laughed. This guy's insane. Without even looking up, the officer replied. I hear every whisper. Marcus's smile vanished. None of us had spoken loudly enough for him to hear. The officer pointed toward the trees. Stand over there. We obeyed. Then he pointed at Tyler. What color was the traffic light? What traffic light? The officer made a mark in the notebook. He looked at Emily. Who screamed first? I don't know. Another mark. Marcus. What song was playing? I can't remember. Scratch. Sarah. What crossed the center line? What? Scratch. Every question felt impossible. Every answer disappointed him. Finally I asked. What is this? He closed the notebook. I'm determining responsibility. Tyler folded his arms. For what? The officer simply said. The accident. Silence. There wasn't an accident. The officer tilted his head. No. He walked to the SUV. He pressed one finger against the hood. Crunch. The hood folded inward. Another crunch echoed through the night. The windshield shattered. The driver's door bent inward. The roof slowly collapsed. It wasn't being damaged. It was becoming damaged. Like invisible hands were replaying something we'd forgotten. The smell hit us all at once. Gasoline. Burning rubber. Hot engine oil. Smoke. Blood. Emily covered her mouth. What is happening? The officer inhaled deeply. There. What? The truth. He reached beneath the SUV. When he stood, he held a bent license plate. None of us had seen it there. He stared at it. So that's where it landed. What landed? Tyler asked. The officer ignored him. He tossed the plate onto the pavement. Instead of hitting the asphalt, it passed straight through the road. And vanished. Nobody spoke. The officer opened the trunk of his cruiser. Inside were orange traffic cones. He carefully placed them in a circle. Not around the SUV. Around us. Marcus frowned. What are you doing? Securing the scene. What scene? The fatal collision. Sarah snapped. You're crazy. The officer slowly turned. No. His voice stayed calm. I'm the only one here who remembers. He reached into the cruiser again. This time he pulled out 5 pairs of handcuffs. Old. Heavy. Rust-stained. He laid them across the hood. Tyler laughed nervously. What are those for? The officer answered without emotion. Processing. We haven't been arrested. No. He looked directly into Tyler's eyes. "You've already been processed." Then he asked something that made my blood run cold. "What was the last thing you remember before the horn?" Everyone froze. "Horn?" Tyler frowned. "I don't." Marcus slowly lowered his phone. "What horn?" The officer closed his eyes. "You still don't remember." He pointed down the highway. "Walk to the curve." Nobody moved. His voice became louder. "Now." We all obeyed. We didn't want to. Our legs simply moved. About 100 yards ahead, the road curved sharply around a hill. As we reached it, every one of us stopped. The highway was filled with flashing lights. Police cars, fire trucks, ambulances, paramedics, tow trucks. People stood silently watching. Then we saw it. Our SUV, wrapped completely around a telephone pole. The front end no longer existed. The engine had been shoved into the driver's seat. The roof had been peeled backward. Glass glittered across the road. Firefighters were cutting through twisted metal. 5 white sheets lay on the pavement. 5 bodies. Marcus whispered. "No." Emily began crying. Sarah couldn't breathe. Tyler slowly shook his head. "No." The memories came back all at once. The music. Everyone laughing. Tyler taking one hand off the wheel to dance. Someone yelling. The GPS going black. Headlights filling the windshield. A deafening truck horn. The violent impact. Then, nothing. The officer walked up behind us. "You crossed the center line." Tyler stared at the wreck. You never saw the truck." Tyler collapsed onto his knees. "I'm sorry." The officer nodded. "I know." Marcus looked back. "So, why pull us over?" The officer looked at each of us. "Because every soul believes it survived." He opened the notebook. "I don't arrest the living." He crossed out Tyler's name. "I arrest the ones who refuse to accept they're dead." He picked up the handcuffs. One by one. He placed them around our wrists. The metal was freezing cold. None of us resisted. The chains felt impossibly heavy. Not because they were made of steel, but because they were made of truth. Tyler looked at him. "So, where are you taking us?" The officer looked toward the darkness beyond the flashing emergency lights. "My jurisdiction doesn't end at the county line." He gave the faintest smile. "It ends where the road does." The emergency lights slowly faded. The sirens disappeared. The people vanished. Even the wreck dissolved into darkness. Only the old police cruiser remained. The officer opened the rear door. It wasn't the back seat anymore. Beyond it was an endless black highway stretching farther than anyone could see. He tipped his hat. "Your ride is here." We climbed inside. The door shut behind us. The cruiser drove into the darkness. No one ever saw it again. Sometimes, late at night, Drivers on lonely highways report being pulled over by an old police cruiser that doesn't exist in any department records. The officer never asks where they're going. He only asks one question. What was the last thing you remember before the crash? And if they can't answer, he already knows why.